Good evening, Ghana, and welcome to Frontline 2012. My name is Irama Kaisaidu. I'm your host this and every Friday leading up to the December elections. On this program, we try to understand the issues in this year's elections in order for you to be able to make a good decision and come December 7th, vote right. With me in the studio this evening is Mr. Jacob Osei, Yeboah, the independent candidate in this year's presidential election. Welcome.
Thank you, Irama.
How are you?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
I'm also doing well, thank you.
That's good.
So I wanted to ask you first, why do you want to become president of Ghana?
The Constitution says that if you are a Ghanaian and of a sound mind and your age is above 40, you can become president of Ghana. Aside that, you also need to look at the leadership content in you and what you can actually offer to the people. I've realized that there is a leadership gap so far as this country is concerned, not only in this country but Africa as a whole. And I think that as Ghanaians we need to originate our own governance system. That is the only way that we can develop as a people. And that is why I'm in this election. I see myself as the voice of change. Okay, and political consciousness.
So we'll talk about the system you propose in a moment, but why not just join a party?
No, what I strongly believe is that in a multi-ethnic society like ours, and in most African countries, partisan politics is not good for us. So we need to originate our own democratic construct that is suitable to us as Ghanaians and Africans. And I think even the books have a form of democracy that they call...
But we have practiced party politics since 1992, and our economy is growing. We are growing as a country. What is really going wrong for us?
But you see, we are growing as a country, but at a cost. The country is highly polarized. Okay, so... we need a system, a governance system that can serve as a cohesive bond to the latent ethnic dimensions of disposition.
Okay, so let's talk about this system. You have proposed an independent presidential government system, an IPS. Can you describe to the voters exactly what it means, and also if you can specify how it differs from the current system we have?
So we have the partisan system where we have all these political parties vying for the governance system. Now, the independent presidential system is the only alternative to the partisan system as enshrined in our constitution. And normally when we talk about independent presidential system, a lot of people are tempted to think that it's only one person. But it's not one person. It's a unity government system. That is what an independent presidential system means, because such a person will have the freedom to choose the best out of all of the political parties to form a national unity government. And I think, together with my team, that is the best proposition.
Okay, you mentioned your team. So who is in your team?
No, we have a lot of people in my team. You can see some of them joining me here, our chief strategists. And,
can you mention some names?
Yeah, we're talking about Kofi Chimberima, we're talking about Keji Ya Asamoah, you're talking about Michael Kobina, and you're talking about Otupuri. There are quite a lot of them.
Any women?
One of them. Oh yes, that's why I mentioned Ya Asamoah,
okay,
Ama, Ghana, and so on and so forth. They are all in it.
So when you then are running for president as an independent, and you say you will pick your team, you will pick your government, it becomes very important for us to understand your leadership style and what you bring to the table. What is your track record? What have you done that makes you suitable for this job?
My umbilical cord was cut with leadership. I mean, right from elementary school as a class prefect. When I was at Opoku High School, started, as soon as I got there, I became what we call the Shanko prefect, even looking after my own classmates,
but
and so on and so
class
forth.
prefects aside,
Yes.
What's your most proud moment as a leader?
No, but as a leader, whilst in the university, I was the national president of Ghana Methodist Students Union, and as soon as I was employed at Ashanti Gold Forge, just within 7 months, I became the leader representing the senior staff on the board for a workforce of over 10,000, as at that time. So anywhere that I move, I'm easily called on to leadership, and I normally leave a trail, a standard for the remaining ones to follow and transform the system that I met.
And what is this trail? Can you quantify it or describe it more in detail? We want to know how you would be as a leader. Fine, you have been a manager, you've been a prefect, but what do you do when you come to a leadership position?
Leadership position as in government or
well, I think a leadership would not be, you're saying that it's the same thing to be a prefect, to be a manager, so as president, what would you do?
As a president, that is why I'm bringing out that consciousness that, hey, the way this nation is being governed is not good for us as Africans.
But so what are you bringing? That's my question.
What I'm actually bringing is the fact that let's go back to the drawing board and look at the leadership system that we know is known to us and we respect.
If you're trying to make a case for this independent presidential government system, could you not have made a better case if you didn't at the same time suggest that you would be that leader?
No, you see, at this point in time, I'm a model. When you have a vision, you need to demonstrate leadership. What I'm doing at the moment is demonstrating the kind of leadership that I know is workable for us as Ghanaians, and that is the independent presidential system.
But again, I'm still a bit sketchy. As a leader, as a president, what would you do? Like, what are some principles that you believe in, maybe?
The principles, you see, first and foremost, our Constitution is enshrined in our Constitution of probity, accountability, and social justice.
Fine, but our Constitution also says that we should have a party system, and that one you're against. So it's now a bit confusing.
It's not against.
Pick and choose from the Constitution.
No, it's not against. We're looking for a better alternative. Or to put it rightly, we're talking about a credible alternative. And what I'm advocating for is that the credible alternative for our governance system is the independent presidential system. And what I'm suggesting is that, you see, we need the political parties. And what I'm suggesting is that they are supposed to elect members of parliament for us. But when it comes to the government system, we need one person who will serve as a unifying factor for all of us, because when you look at our chieftaincy institution, a chief, everybody in that community say, he is my chief. Are you with me? Nobody says, oh, he's a chief for these people within the group. He is my chief. That is what we believe in as African. And for that matter, in Ghana, with about 79 ethnic groups, I mean, when you have a leader, that anyone will say, he is my president, and the government is our government, not what is existing now. This is a government, this is a president for this party, and then he came for this particular party, and those particular party are doing the winner takes all syndrome. It's not good for us.
You mentioned chiefs in there, and you have made claims on how chiefs should again hold political power. In a press conference in April 2011, you said traditional chiefs should take the rightful position in the business of governance in Ghana. Can you explain why you take this position and what it actually means? How will you do it?
With our partisan system and the way it's being run, those in the traditional sectors, you see, there's a difference between partisan politics and national politics. At the governance system, if anyone talks about a particular government, that person is talking or is partaking in national politics. But if someone is actually condemning a particular party, then that party is actually dabbling in partisan politics. Now, what is happening is that because these political parties tend to form government, if even a traditional leader would want to criticize that government, which is a national politics, for which the Constitution does not actually bind them not to dabble in it. But then what happened? The party members see it as an affront to them, and they tend to attack such dignitaries. If it's a religious leader, they do the same. So this partisan politics is actually breeding the kind of disrespect which is not part of our society. And for that matter, in order to restore dignity and respect, which is part of us, that is how we are brought up as Ghanaians and Africans. And that is why I was
can you
advocating.
be a bit practical, like how you're saying here that chiefs should take a role in politics, And today, in the Constitution, we're actually frowning upon that. Chiefs should stay out of politics. So will you change the Constitution? Will you strengthen the House of Chiefs? What is the policy that you will do this with?
The policy is that, that's why I've suggested for a second upper chamber of Parliament, whereby we will have our traditional leaders being represented, our religious leaders being represented, the business community and other key stakeholder institutions like the Ghana
And
Bar
who would
Association.
appoint the people in that house?
No, you see, all these institutions, they have their own internal mechanism of selecting their members to represent them, unlike the current Council of State, which members are actually appointed by the President. And they think that whilst they are there, they have to more or less show gratitude to the President.
Okay, so you propose to add a ruling body?
Yes, it's just like, in the UK, the House of Lords, and then in the US, the Congress. So that one...
I think you mean the Senate there for the...
Yes, for them. That is comparable. What I'm suggesting is comparable to
Okay,
that.
and when we talk about... you said you would also appoint your own cabinet for unity government, but will you take those ministers from the Parliament as the Constitution now declares?
Yes, Article 78 declares that. You see, under normal circumstances, if we were to have an in-depth understanding about the three arms of government, whereby you have the executive, you have the legislature, and the judiciary, each of these work independently. Okay, so once a party...
Get your confirmation, where will you take your ministers from?
No, the Constitution is binding. It says that you must pick up more than 50% of your ministers from Parliament. And it can only take an independent presidential candidate to pick up the best out of the NDC, MPP, CPP, PNC, PPP, whatever, from Parliament. And again, it can only take an independent presidential candidate to pick up the other silent but an in-depth knowledge, expertise.
Fine, but then you're proposing to add one more group of people who we have to provide salaries and housing and cars, etc. Are we not suffering already from providing those things for the 230 parliamentarians, for the ministers, etc.?
Rama, let us be plain and honest. Ghana is so rich, okay, that we can actually afford, okay, the payment. I just don't want to. With all the natural resources that God has given us, if managed properly, we should be able to do anything that we like. If you look at Libya, we don't do one oil. What was Gaddafi doing? That when you're at the age of 18, you have your own accommodation.
We should be able to afford.
We should be able to afford.
All right, so I have some short questions for you before we go on our first break. So whatever comes to your mind, just quick questions. So the first one is book or beer?
Book or beer?
Yeah, if you want to relax, which one do you choose?
No, I prefer book. I don't take alcohol.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So what books do you read?
No, I read Bible is my main book, and I normally read books on leadership.
Okay. Aid or trade? Aid or trade?
I prefer trade.
And how so?
Sorry?
Why is that?
Trade. Trade had to do with economics. It forms the basis upon which you can live your life upon, so that you don't go about begging. So, I mean, anyone who always going for aid turns out to be a slave to the borrower. Okay. So I prefer my freedom. Just as the Chinese adage say that, show me how to fish, but do not fish for me every day. Africa and Ghana, we are being fished for every day, and it's not helping us.
Okay, my last question, gold or platinum?
Wow. I would rather go in for gold, because we have gold, a lot of gold in Ghana, despite the fact that platinum is on top. But for the purpose of our nation, I will go in for gold.
And this brings us to the next section after the break. When we come back, we'll talk about jobs, we'll talk about economy, and we'll talk to our guest, Mr. Jacob Osei Yeboah, about mining, because that's something he has experience in. Stay with us. We'll be right back.